breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warm up from below. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN family of podcasts. We've got a tremendous podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Will Hill. He does amazing work here at the network. We're going to get his thoughts on the 2 New York teams because he is out there in that New York state of mind, and he does an amazing job here at the network taking a look at a little bit of everything. So we've got to get his thoughts there, and then we're going to ask him just what has all been working for him in general in terms of betting the baseball board for this season. Take a look at a few games for this Monday as well, and then in the final segment, I'm going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at unit_D1. Keep in mind, letter CM. Naming does not matter, so as per usual, please just send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter questions today, but had a great day of baseball on Sunday, so let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the Rowdy recap.
Hey, after a 2-game losing streak, we're back on track with the DK Nation write-up picks. Took the Texas Rangers on the money line, and they completely slammed the LA Angels 16-8. The final. We saw a lot of scoring on Sunday, by the way, as for the Texas Rangers, he had a trio of home runs. Ezekiel Duran, his 4th home run season, that comes off of starter Jose Suarez, and then Adolis Garcia gets his 9th home run season, that comes off of Chris Davinsky, and then the other home run that our good friend Mr. Jose Suarez would give up, that came to Josh Smith, home run number 2 of the season. As for Suarez, he gives up 7 runs and he got 8 outs, giving up 2 home runs along the way. For Davinsky, gives up 3 runs in 2 innings, including one of those home runs. Chase Silseth, he gets tagged with 6 runs, 3 of which were earned in 3 in the 3rd innings. And Jake Lamb, he threw a scoreless inning for the LA Angels. And for the Angels, offense was not too bad as Jose Leclerc gives up a home run to Hunter Renfroe's 8th home run of the season. And for Martin Perez, he gave up the 1st home run of the season for Anthony Rendon. By the way, super sad that we're sitting here in May and Anthony Rendon finally got his 1st home run of the season, but it is what it is. And for Martin Perez, not a good start in this one. He gives up 7 runs and he goes 3 2/3 innings, but Josh Jaboris was able to lend 2 scoreless innings. Cole Ragans 2 1/3 innings scoreless before Jose Leclerc gives up a solo home run in the 9th inning. And the Texas Rangers now lead the AL West at 20-13. You saw the Seattle Mariners be able to get a 3-1 win as the Astros are now 500 at 17-17, 3-1 the final. As for Houston, Brandon Belock, he was just under siege throughout his 4 2/3 innings, giving up 10 hits, gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, as he had Jose Abreu committed error in the field that did not help out his cause. And for the Seattle Mariners, they could have had a lot more in this game as they went 2 of 14 with men in scoring position, but they did get a home run off the bat of Julio Rodriguez, 6th home run season. And for young Bryce Miller, how about this start? 2 hits, no runs surrendered over the course of 6 innings. Gabe Spear does allow 1 run in a 1/3 of an inning, but Matt Brash, pair of outs out of the bullpen, and then Trevor Gott along Justin Topa, both led to scoreless innings. So the Mariners, they're back to 500. I know that Will Hill was on this one, and we were actually doing our interview while this game was going down. The Washington Nationals rallied to be able to take down the Arizona Diamondbacks by a count of 9-8. As for the Diamondbacks, they were up 3 runs going into the top of the 8th inning, and they blew it. As for the Washington Nationals, they did not get what they were looking for out of Trevor Williams. 5 runs surrendered in 4 1/3 innings, including a pair of home runs. Going deep for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Christian Walker, home run number 8 of the season, and Lourdes Gurriel, he would go deep twice. Number 4 and number 5 of the campaign, his other home run came off of Andres Machado, as Machado gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He had Hobie Harris, lended scoreless inning along with Hunter Harvey. Erasmo Ramirez, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Thaddeus Ward did give up a run in 2/3 of an inning, giving up 4 walks along the way. And for the Washington Nationals, Joey Meneses hit the game-winning home run in the 9th inning. Home run number 2 of the season, that comes off of Miguel Castro after Ryan Nelson went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned. Nothing great, nothing terrible. Joe Mantiply, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Kyle Nelson does give up a run while getting his 4 outside the bullpen, but was hurt by a pair of errors out there in the field. Kevin Ginkel gives up 2 runs in a 1/3 of an inning, and then Miguel Castro gives up 3 runs in that 9th inning, including the home run that put the Washington Nationals up for good. The Chicago White Sox put up a 17 spot on the Cincinnati Reds, and they got all their scoring in the first 5 innings of the game. 17-4 is the final as Graham Ashcraft, he was a load of Ashcraft in this game. He does not make it out of the second inning as he surrenders 8 runs and got 5 outs, giving up a home run along the way. For the Chicago White Sox, Hanser Alberto gets his 3rd home run season. Then you had home run number 3 of the season for Gavin Sheets, as that one came off of Casey Lugumina. For Lugumina, he gets 4 outs. He gives up 6 runs, 3 of which were earned. Javier Martin has to come out of the bullpen. He gets 4 outs. He gives up 3 runs along the way, but then from there things stabilize as Luis Cessa, Buck Farmer both led to scoreless inning. Alex Young, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and Luke Melee, the backup catcher, was able to end a scoreless inning as well. For the Cincinnati Reds, they actually won the home run battle as they got 4 home runs. Problem was they were also home runs as Will Myers gets his 3rd home run season. Jonathan India gets his 3rd home run season. Spencer Steer gets his 4th home run of the campaign. First guy for the Reds to get to home run number 4, and then Tyler Stevenson gets his 1st of the season as Michael Kopech gives up all 4 of those home runs. They were also home runs, though. Gives up 4 runs in 6 innings. Jimmy Lambert, Alex Colome, Keenan Middleton from there all lend a scoreless inning. This game went 14 innings as the Miami Marlins take down the Chicago Cubs by a count of 5-4. Sandy Alcantara was going for a complete game shutout in this one, and he gave up a pair of runs in the 9th inning, going 8 1/3, giving up those 2 runs, but looked like the Sandy of old. From there, A.J. Puck, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Dylan Floro, Stephen Okerth, they both allowed an unearned run in their extra innings of work as Uskar Berzobin, Tanner Scott, Andrew Nardi, they all lend a scoreless inning. For the Miami Marlins, they win this game going 2 of 20 with men in scoring position, and the Cubs went 3 of 20 with men in scoring position as Hayden Wozniacki, good start, allows a solo home run over the course of 6 innings of work. Yuli Gurriel, he got home run number 3 of the season. From there, Michael Fulmer, Julian Merriweather, they both lend a scoreless inning. Adbert Alzolay comes in super long relief, giving up 2 unearned runs in extra innings. Mark Leiter Jr., 2 extra innings of work. He allows an unearned run of his own, and Brian Boxberger gives up a earned run in his 1 inning of work. For the St. Louis Cardinals, hooray for them ending their 8-game losing streak. They win by a count of 12-6, and it looked like it was about to go sideways on them. It was a case where they were down by a count of 6-3 going into the bottom of the 6th inning, but then they were able to put up a 7th spot as Paul Goldschmidt had himself a heck of a day in this one. 3 home runs. Home runs number 5, 6, and 7 of the campaign, as 2 of those come off the starter in Alex Faedo, who gives up 3 runs to which were earned, including 2 of those Paul Goldschmidt home runs, and then the other home run comes off of Tyler Holton, who was not holding it down, giving up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings. Mason Englert, he gave up 5 runs in a third of an inning, only 1 of which was earned. He was hurt by a pair of errors by Javi Baez, a pair of errors by Nick Maton. That was not great. Tyler Alexander, he gives up 2 runs in and out of work as well. And for the Detroit Tigers, you did have Jason Rogers be able to get his 4th home run season. A grand slam off of Jojo Romero, who he came in and he gave up 2 runs in a third of an inning, as he also had 3 unearned runs surrendered by James Nailey as well. Steven Matz, he did his part, giving up just a solo home run over the course of 5 1/3 innings, that one being to Spencer Torkelson, his 3rd of the season, but you were able to have Drew Verhagen supply 2 scoreless innings, and Ryan Helsley was able to lend a scoreless inning as well. You saw the Toronto Blue Jays completely take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates, 10-1 the final, as for Toronto, you had Kevin Kiermaier go deep for his 2nd home run season. That was off of Chase DeYoung. DeYoung gives one up to Dalton Varsho, his 5th home run season, and then Whit Merrifield gets his 1st home run of the campaign, as Merrifield comes off of the starter in Ronci Contreras, as for Contreras, gives up 5 runs in 5 innings. Dory Moreta along with Jose Hernandez come in for a scoreless inning, and then Chase Young gives up the other 2 home runs, 5 runs in total surrender over the course of 2 innings. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, now 2 runs or fewer in 7 straight games for them, as for Toronto, Yusei Kikuchi was incredible. 6 1/3 innings scoreless. Yimi Garcia gives up a run in an inning, but Nate Pearson scoreless inning, and Joe Romano was able to get a pair of outs out of the bullpen. Boston is currently the top over team in all of baseball, but they were unable to get a lot of offense going in this one. They are now 24 overs, 11 unders, and a push on the season, 6-1. The Philadelphia Phillies were able to take them down as Tanner Houck, he got houked out of this game after 3 runs surrendered in 5 2/3 innings. Zach Liddell gives up 2 runs in an inning, and Richard Blyer gives up an run in and out of the bullpen. As for the Philadelphia Phillies, Kyle Schwarber took Blyer deep for his 8th home run season. You did have Ryan Brazier lend a scoreless inning, but one form of offense for the Boston Red Sox came to the most unlikely of places. Tristan Casas, who is currently hitting $163 for the year. He gets his 4th home run season off of Taijuan Walker. That's all he would allow. Walker gives up that home run over the course of 6 innings. Matt Strahm, 2 scoreless innings, and then Jose Alvarado was able to end a scoreless inning of his own. The Oakland A's have played right around 2/3 of their games to the over. They were unable to get anything generated here, though. The Kansas City Royals, they win by a count of 5-1, as these are the lone 2 teams in Major League Baseball that have yet to get to 10 wins, as Mason Miller gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, and then the bullpen that has been much maligned for the Oakland A's continues to be bad. Shintaro Fujinami might be the worst Japanese sighting in all time. I mean, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 1 1/3 innings, heightening his ERA to a 13.94 as Sammy Long gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen. And for the Kansas City Royals, Ryan Yarbrough was rolling, 1 run surrendered in 5 2/3 innings. Roldis Chapman, Scott Barlow both lend a scoreless inning, and Carlos Hernandez, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Your top under team in all of baseball has been the New York Yankees for much of the season, but they played an over on Sunday that led to that now being with the Cleveland Guardians, and we're going to get to in a second. But for the Tampa Bay Rays, they come back from being down 6 runs to go to 28-7, 8-7. They take down the Yankees as Garrett Cole was rolling in this one until really the 5th and 6th innings, as he surrenders 6 runs, 5 of which were earned over the course of 5 innings, as taking them deep was Christian Bethancourt, 6th home run season. And Siri, how many home runs does Jose Siri have? She does not respond, but I respond with 3. His 3rd home run of the season, as Javi Guerra was the opener for Josh Fleming in this one. Guerra, a scoreless inning before Josh Fleming was not good. He gave up 6 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a pair of bombs. Anthony Rizzo, 6th home run season. And then you had Harrison Bader get number 2 of the campaign. You did have Ryan Thompson give up a run in an inning of work, but from there, Colin Pouchet was able to lend a scoreless inning. Garrett Clevenger, Jalen Beeks, they combined for a scoreless 10th inning as they're able to get the win. As for the New York Yankees, bullpen wasn't bad. Jimmy Cordero gives up a run in an inning, but Clay Holmes, Wandy Peralta, Michael King, they all lend a scoreless inning before Albert Abreu gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning that costed them. For the New York Mets, they are now sub 500 as it is the bit of misery for them, 13-6. The Colorado Rockies get it done against the New York Mets. As for the Metropolitans, they have now lost 5 out of their last 6 games. They have not covered the run line in any of them, as they were not able to get the start that they were looking for out of Joey Lucchesi. For Lucchesi, he surrenders 3 runs over the course of 4 innings, giving up a home run along the way. But then you had Jimmy Yacobonis yak this game up. He got 1 out while surrendering 5 runs, all of which weren't, giving up a home run. Tommy Hunter gives up 3 runs in 2 2/3 innings, including a home run. Dominic Leone gives up 2 runs in an inning, and Jeff Brigham, a scoreless inning. You did have Daniel Vogelback go yard off of Daniel Bard. 2nd home run season for Bard. He does give up that home run over the course of an inning, and Ryan Feldner was not good in this game. Gives up 4 runs in 3 1/3 innings, 6 walks along the way. Brent Suter gives up a 1 run in 1 2/3 innings, picks up the win, and Brad Ann, Justin Lawrence, Nick Mears, they all end a scoreless inning, but Randall Grichuk was able to get his 1st home run season off of Joey Lucchesi. You also had Chris Bryant get his 5th home run season, and then you also had home run number 1 for Brenton Doyle as well. So the Colorado Rockies, a rare road series win against a New York Mets team that they're just stuck in the mud. How about our top under team in all of baseball, though, the Cleveland Guardians? They take down the Minnesota Twins by a count of 2-0 as Cal Quantrill was lights out. 1 hit allowed in 7 scoreless innings, and the Cleveland Guardians, in his last 24 regular season starts, are now 21-3. It is ridiculous. They just keep winning whenever Cal Quantrill's on the mound. James Karinchak, Emmanuel Clase from there, scoreless innings. And for the Twins, I mean, you got to feel for Joe Ryan. 2 runs surrendered in 6 innings. He takes the L. Emilio Pagan, Brock Stewart, they both on a scoreless inning, but the Twins came up snake eyes at the plate. A team that did not come up snake eyes was the Milwaukee Brewers. They take down the San Francisco Giants by a count of 7-3 as for the Brewers, you had William Contreras get a 2nd home run season off of Rod Stripling, and Stripling allowed one to Williams. His 6th home run season for Stripling, 5 runs surrendered over the course of 5 innings. You had Jacob Junis provide 3 scoreless innings, and then from there, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up by Cole Waitis. As for the San Francisco Giants, Therio Estrada does take Devin Williams deep for his 6th home run of the season. Devin Williams strangely out there in a non-save situation, but Adrian did not pitch like Doogie Howser in this one. 2 runs surrendered in 4 2/3 innings. Hobie Milner, a pair of outs out of the bullpen. Joe Payamps, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And Peter Strzelecki was able to lend 8 scoreless innings. So the Milwaukee Brewers are able to get it done. And in the early Peacock game, you saw the Atlanta Braves win by a count of 3-2 in 12 innings. As for the Baltimore Orioles, Tyler Wells pitched quite well, giving up a solo home run over the course of those 5 innings. For the Atlanta Braves, you had Matt Olson get home run number 10 of the season. As for Atlanta, they go just 1 of 11 with men in scoring position, but game went so long that they were able to scratch across just enough. As Austin Voth and Yunier Cano, don't you know they were both able to lend a scoreless inning. Felix Bautista gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. Mike Baumann a scoreless 11th before Cionel Perez gives up the game-winning hit and unearned run in the 12th inning. As for the Orioles, they go 1 of 14 with men in scoring position as Bryce Elder continues to be rock solid, giving up 1 run in 5 and third innings as he did allow 4 walks along the way. Colin McHugh, 2 scoreless innings. Michael Tonkin, 2 scoreless innings. Jesse Chavez gives up an unearned run in extras in his inning of work. Dylan Lee, pair of outs out of the bullpen. Rossio Iglesias, he was able to go scoreless as well. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, you saw the LA Dodgers be able to rally to take down the San Diego Padres. 5-2 the final. The Padres put up 2 runs in the first inning, and that would be it. Dodgers were down by a run going into the 9th inning. Mookie Betts, he comes up with a home run, and then from there, the team was able to get it done in the 10th because James Outman, he did not get out, man. He was able to get his 8th home run season. That came off of Brett Honeywell, who gave up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in that 10th inning. Joe Musgrove looked more like himself in this start. 1 unearned run given up in 5 innings from there. Nick Martinez, Tim Hill, goodbye for 2 scoreless innings. Steven Wilson, he goes for a scoreless inning. And Josh Hader gave up that home run to Mookie Betts. So he got tagged, and for the LA Dodgers, it was a relatively solid start for Julio Urias. Gave up those 2 runs in the first inning and then settled down, going 5 2/3 innings from there. Victor Gonzalez, Caleb Ferguson, Evan Phillips all lend a scoreless inning, and Yancy Almonte 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. When it comes to what we're seeing trend-wise in Major League Baseball, the only thing that is not accounted for in this is Sunday Night Baseball, but over the last 7 days, we have seen overs be able to make a little bit of a tick up once again. They started out very hot, then they went cold, now they're hot again. 48 overs, 43 unders, and we have seen along the way, I believe, 1 push, and for favorites, it's been a relatively rough run of things. 42 and 50 straight up going into Sunday Night Baseball. And if you've been looking at the run line, 12 of those 42 favorites have won outright, unable to cover the run line. And if you're taking a look overall for the season, favorites have been solid. 303 and 212 straight up on the money line. That's 58.8%. But among these 303 favorites to win, 77 have failed to cover the run line. And overall this season, 253 overs to 245 under. So that's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now. And that's what we all got on Sunday. Now, let's take a look forward to Monday, and let's take a look at what's all been successful for Will Hill this MLB season. He joins me next as he is such a big contributor to everything that we do at VSIN, and we've got him on the flip side right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSIN family podcast.
Are you ready to become a winning sports bettor? Schedule a call with SBIA to find out how their service can make you a long-term winning player. They've developed an innovative algorithm that maximizes units return, and they are so confident in their system that they offer a money-back guarantee. Sign up by October 31st and get their MBA package at no cost until they reach 10 net units. They treat sports betting like a business. So if you want to learn how to make your sports betting dreams a reality, visit them at SBIA1.com and check them out on social media at SBIA Sports.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN family podcast. It is great to be joined by our guest as Will Hill. He does amazing work here at VSIN, as he is a man that does so much in terms of our written work, and he really does it all. Whether it's football, college basketball, baseball, you go down the list, Will Hill does it. He does an absolutely tremendous job on so many fronts, just being able to find so much profitability in so many different markets, and he's a man that you're able to follow at not the Will Hill, and that is 2 E's on the word the. And Will, it's always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Hoops, I appreciate the kind words. Thanks for having me. A big fan of yours, obviously. Big fan of the show. So it's good to be on. Great sports weekend between the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Kentucky Derby, got full card of baseball. It's nice here on the East Coast. Weather's getting a little warmer, and it's wall-to-wall action. So good time of the year here.
It is an amazing time of year, and We are now a little bit more than a month through the baseball season, and I know that you are out there in the northeast part of the country, and I just have to first get your thoughts on the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, because it has been a slog for both of these teams, with the Mets losing their series to the Colorado Rockies. They're now below 500. On Sunday, the New York Yankees were able to get up 6-0, and they could not hold on against the Tampa Bay Rays. Still a game above 500 for them, but what have you made out of these struggles of both of these teams? Because ultimately, if I'm taking a look at one of these teams I think is going to be fine, as strange as it sounds, am feeling a little bit more bullish about the Yankees just because there are all sorts of banged up reinforcements are going to be on the way. For the Mets, I just almost think that they are what they are at this point.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with the Yankees here. It's just, look, outside of Judge and Cole, who had a bad inning, but he's throwing the ball great for the Yankees. He actually came into the league in WAR at 2.5, good margin ahead of Ohtani, which is hard to believe. Outside of that, there's just not a lot of talent, especially with Stanton on the DL. Go down the line. Cabrera doesn't seem ready. I mean, there's just so many outs in the lineup. I mean, they're batting Kinder Falefa 6, sneaking him into corner outfield spots, which corner outfield's usually a power position. That's a guy that's supposed to hit 30 home runs for you. Kinder Falefa is just a punch and Judy hitter. You go down the line, Trevino and Hicks, who still somehow forget being on the team. He's in the lineup. It's not a really talented team. They'll get Judge back here in the next few days. They're going to get Severino back. Sounds pretty quickly. So with the extra wildcard team, now, I mean, what a terrible loss. That was 6 runs in the 5th inning with Cole on the mound. With the extra wildcard team, there's a lot of time left, but I don't think they're catching Tampa. 10 games is a lot of games to make up. It's probably going to be a wildcard scenario at best. I was looking for long shot prices on them to miss the playoffs. I think I saw as high as plus 230 to miss last week. It's come down a little bit to that where it's, I think, plus 170 or so. So they're still probably going to make the playoffs. You know, this is still a team that I think it's death by 1,000 cuts these last few years, starting with not going in on Harper and Machado when they were free agents. Then you look at the trades they've made. Now, Sonny Gray pitched well other places, but they traded for Sonny Gray, did nothing for them. Joey Gallo, Benintendi, Frankie Montas. It's just death by 1,000 cuts where they don't have the prospects to trade. They don't have the prospects coming up. And it's just outside of a couple of big guys. I mean, Gleyber Torres is hot and cold. LeMahieu's a good player. He's not a great player. It's not a great roster. The American League's really good right now. The Rays are rolling. Baltimore's good. Boston's better than you expect. So it's going to be an uphill climb. I think they probably have enough talent as long as they get healthy here to get a wild card spot. I didn't even mention Rodon, who looks like you're probably too young for Carl Pavano, but Carl Pavano was the guy, I think it was 2005.
Oh, I remember him.
You do? Okay. They signed him in 2005 for people that don't remember. All-star pitcher. Basically, after signing a huge contract with the Yankees, never pitched for whatever reason. There's always some sort of injury. And we're going down that road with Rodon, who's apparently has a chronic back issue. So they have all sorts of issues. They have enough talent to maybe get in a wild card spot. They have better days ahead of them. They play Oakland tomorrow, so their schedule starts to ease up a little bit. But it's a team with a lot of issues. Mets, same sort of thing where, you know, this team was built basically with the model of have 2 of the best pitchers in the league, have a really good third starter, and then have a good enough lineup. That was the model last year with DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. They flipped for DeGrom. They lost DeGrom and flipped him into Verlander. Scherzer's back, but he's not as good. And Bassett is now Senga. The problem is Verlander's older. Now, he won the Cy Young last year, so only one start in. You expect to still get something out of him. But Scherzer pitched poorly at the end of last year. Remember, the Padres bombed him out of the building that wild card game. Who replaces Bassett is got good stuff, but he's inconsistent. You know, his command's not there. So if your pitching's not going to be great at the top, it's like the Yankees, it's not that good of a team because, you know, the Carlos Carrascos, the Tyler McGills, the David Petersons of the world are just not that good. So you're going to need Scherzer and Verlander to be dominant. I'm sure Scherzer will pitch better than he's shown here. But even if he's mediocre, if he's hurt, I mean, this team is in danger, I think, of missing the playoffs if you don't get a lot out of Verlander and Scherzer. Now, the only opposition to that, the only pushback on that, I would say would be, well, who in the National League is going to take their spot? There's not that many teams to jump up and take their spot because the Phillies are struggling. You know, the Central's not a good division. The West, maybe you get the Diamondbacks and the loser between the Padres and the Dodgers. But with that extra spot, you'd think the Mets can get in, but that's a lot of age and a lot of injury questions at the top of the rotation. That's a team that's built on the top of the rotation.
Absolutely, and I do think that it is going to be an interesting series in the National League. Actually, quite a few interesting series in the National League coming up for those spots. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Will Hill. He does amazing work over here at VSIN because, I mean, one team that was not brought up is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who it feels like they are coming back to earth. They have scored 2 runs or fewer in 6 straight games. So after they were having the best record in the National League going into May, which still is very weird to say, they have really fallen back. And now they get the Colorado Rockies, who have never been good on the road, but they are coming off of a series win against the New York Mets. they're a team of intrigue, with the Pirates being about minus 155 to minus 165 favorites in that one. And then you have the Brewers versus Dodgers series, which I always find it interesting. Take a look at these teams that play on Sunday Night Baseball. But I think that there are some pivotal series that are right now coming up in the National League that could be helping moving forward, because for the Pirates, it's just all about stopping the bleeding. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, if they're able to win some games, they could be right there in the NL Central, because I think at this point, the Cardinals may have dug themselves too big of a hole to be able to win this division.
I'm sitting here as we're talking about all these games. I have the Diamondbacks against the Nationals, and they had a 4-run lead. They had a 2-run lead heading into the top of the ninth. Nationals just get a couple guys on, and Nationals just hit a 3-run homer to go up 9-8. I don't know if you saw the game.
I was about to say, just like Saturday.
Yeah, where it was 6-3, 2 outs, nobody on in the ninth. And the Nationals rally, score 4 runs with 2 outs and nobody on, but then the Diamondbacks come back, tied, I think, on a home run, and then a walk-off walk to win the game. So hopefully, for my sake here, that we get a little bit of a history repeating itself. So that would be a terrible loss for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are one team I sort of like betting on. I like watching. They got a fun lineup, a good lineup. Walker, I think, is an underrated player. Obviously, Gowan's really good at the top of the rotation. Sounds like they've got some good young pitchers coming up. So that's a team that could be fun to watch. It's not a lot of fun sweating them out right now, though.
Yeah, it certainly has been interesting. And how do you take a look at the Diamondbacks and the Marlins game for Monday? Because you've got Zach Allen on the mound, who he entered into his last start having a stretch of 4 starts where his strikeout to walk rate was 41. He has been absolutely amazing going up against a Miami Marlins team that they just played 14 innings against the Cubs. Right now we're finding a total of 8, and I just don't see how the Miami Marlins are able to scratch across too many runs against the Arizona Diamondbacks. I like the Diamondbacks in this spot to be able to keep this total under. My only fear is that if you can't get a lot of length out of Braxton Garrett, that this Marlins bullpen is just so gassed that they don't have anyone to throw out there.
I don't lay 1.5 too much in baseball. I don't like laying minus 215 a ton in baseball. I'll do it, but not very often. Probably look to isolate your handicap there. I agree with everything you said. I probably look to isolate the handicap and just, I'm not seeing one now, but a Marlins team total under will probably be 2.5. They're probably not going to do you any favors, but if you remember last year, there was a long stretch. It had to be like a month straight where they went under their team total every night for like a month straight. So Marlins team total might be a good play. Again, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be like 2.5. You're going to have to sweat it out the whole time. If you really want to isolate it, the first 5 lines, what do you think? It'll be 1.5. I don't think they can put it at half a run. So maybe 1.5 juice to the under. This to me looks like Gowan, 7 innings, 1 run written all over it. So I probably look to play a Marlins team total under.
Absolutely, and I do remember that stretch with the Miami Marlins. They just kept taking them under, and they had a stretch where they went like 24-6 to the under in a 30-game stretch, even though the totals were all at like 7. That was just absolutely amazing. So hopefully we could get back to that state, because that was when Sandy Alcantara had things rolling, and it was a very good time to be able to bet some unders. And then this one just really stands out to me because I always love fading these teams coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, and for Tony Gonsolin, it feels like the LA Dodgers just are not willing to let him throw more than 5 innings at this point, because he is coming off the injured list. And until the back half of last season, even when he was fully healthy in like 2019, 2020, 2021, he was never really a guy that gave you a lot of length. Going up against Freddie Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers, for the Dodgers, they're going to have to travel from west to east after playing a Sunday night game, which that's never easy to do. And getting the Brewers right around about a minus 108 to a minus 115, to me, feels like a really good bargain.
We're probably Brewers are past for all the reasons you just mentioned, not only just the Sunday night scenario, but the travel, the letdown factor, because look, we don't talk about letdown factors a lot in baseball, but when you're playing the Padres, that's become their arch nemesis. Now you got to fly all the way to Milwaukee, play the Brewers. So definitely a letdown spot here. It'd be Brewers or nothing here.
Absolutely. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Will Hill. He does amazing work here at VSIN, taking a look at the great game of baseball. And Will, just in terms of your betting thus far this season in the Major League season, what have you been targeting a lot, and what has really been working for you? Because I know that there have been more and more people here at the network, and rightfully so, getting into player props, because the one thing that has really been plaguing us out here in Las Vegas is that, unlike over on the East Coast, there's been a little bit less in terms of offerings, in terms of things like total bases, strikeout props, what have you, which finally it feels like more books are getting online with, which that has been helping. But what have you really been taking a look at that has been helping you out, whether that be first fives, a few full games, a few team trends, just anything in particular for you?
I love the strikeout props. I love the pitcher strikeout props. I think it's one of the most beatable markets in all of sports. I think if you really study it, if you really have a good feel for these pitchers, who's got really good stuff, the lineups, the matchups, the pitcher props are really beatable. Now, the problem is, this is a podcast for Monday, and we're doing this Sunday night. They're not always up the night before. I'm trying to look here and see if we've gotten anything. They're going to usually post them the day of. Those ones aren't usually available until the next day. Yeah, I'm just seeing money line, team total, run line. So I'm not seeing any pitcher props, but usually you can guess about what they're going to be. But to me, those are some of the most beatable markets. I really like playing the pitcher strikeout props.
Absolutely. And how much do you utilize home and road splits when it comes to some of your handicapping? Because I'm taking a look at a game in particular for Monday where I do think that there's a nice edge. It's the White Sox and the Kansas City Royals. The White Sox coming off of scoring 17 runs in the first 5 innings against the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to go out here on a limb, and I'm going to say that they don't score 17 runs in the first 5 against the Kansas City Royals once again. But Zach Greinke is a guy that I absolutely love to fade when he is on the road. At home, since he's come back to the Royals, he's given up 2 home runs in 88 and a third innings over the course of 2 seasons, going up against a guy in Dylan Cease, who's been one of the best road pitchers in the big leagues. And with getting a total of 8.5 and 9, you always play the dice with both of these bullpens, but this is one of these spots where I do think that home and road splits are very big, and it leads me to really liking an under in this spot with Dylan Cease being a great road pitcher and Zach Greinke being unable to pitch anywhere except for Kansas City, it seems.
Yeah, this looks a little cheap for Cease. Cease minus $1.35 or so. And again, shop around, try to get the dime lines because that makes a big difference over the course of a year. It might not seem like a lot in a given day or given week. Oh, what's the difference? $1.35, $1.40. If you're betting baseball regularly, it adds up. It makes a huge difference. Get the best price. But I would definitely look at the White Sox here. I think that's a little cheap. I'm going to bet that, actually, because all the reasons you just mentioned, I think that's a good matchup. And I'm surprised that line is that low.
I'm actually seeing a few $1.30s popping up as well. So it's getting all the better there, so that is something that I do like. And just in terms of the slate for Monday, I brought up a few games that I'm taking a look at. Is there one or two in particular that really stand out to you, whether it is a game that you are going to be ultimately betting, or maybe it's not a game that you're betting, but you just want to see a little bit more out of a pitcher? Maybe there's a team that you've been a little bit hot and cold on that you just want to see a little bit more out of.
Boy, McClanahan at $1.50 in Baltimore against Gibson. I know Gibson's throwing the ball pretty well here, but McClanahan minus $1.50, that doesn't sound too bad either. I'm surprised that one's a little lower. And the Orioles have played tremendous baseball. That's a good team. That fun game against Atlanta. They played Atlanta tough, I think, all weekend. But McClanahan's about as good as anybody in the sport. I mean, he's basically throwing a 98-mile-an-hour wiffle ball up there from the left side. He's really tough to hit. So to me, McClanahan there would be a place I would look at minus 150. I think that's a reasonable price there.
Yep, and getting a total of 7.5, which I do think is so intriguing because to your point, Shane McClanahan has been absolutely tremendous this year, but I might be taking a look at an over in this spot because I do fear that regression is coming in for Kyle Gibson. This Orioles bullpen has been relatively amazing. I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain the terrific ERA that they've got. As currently, as I'm seeing it, they're number 4 in terms of bullpen ERA, and they did lose a few guys like Jorge Lopez that were so good from that bullpen last season as well. So I do think that we're in for a great slate of baseball on Monday, and I know that we're just in a great slate of sports in general right now. And Will, you do a great job on a little bit of everything. I know that you've been doing a nice job taking a look at the NBA postseason. You are the man that won our 2023 college basketball handicapping championship, so a big congratulations there. I know that you never stop with regards to getting prepared for football season as well. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people are able to follow along with social media and other platforms, because I know that you do a lot for us here at the network.
Yep, I'm on a few times a week. Lombardi Line usually Tuesdays and Thursdays around 12:30, 12:45 on the East Coast. On Gil's show, a numbers game, usually Wednesday around 11:15. That varies a little bit. And then at Not The Will Hill on Twitter. And you can catch me in the Gold Boys Discord, goldboys.com. So check that out. Hoops, you're the best, man. I appreciate you having me on. This is long overdue. And anytime you need me, I'm happy to jump on with you.
Will is one of the best out there. He does a great job handicapping so many different things. And whenever I'm able to get him on, whether it be the Greg Peterson Experience or one of these fine podcasts like today, he always delivers amazing insights. So a big thanks to Will Hill for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. And coming up next, this is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. It is always great to get Will Hill aboard. He does amazing work here at VSiN, taking a look at so many different things. The man that won our college basketball handicapping competition, a guy that does an amazing job take a look at all things in the northeast part of the country. Lockdown in the great state of New York does a great job following the great game of baseball. You're able to go down the list. Guy checks all the boxes. A very integral part of all of our written work here at VSIN, and every single time he joins this show and pretty much any show on the network, always lends great insights, much like he did today. So, big thanks to Will for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at GNN_41. We are going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. If we would have any interleague games, those would be at the bottom. We fortunately do not have any of those, so let's get things started with 901-902 on the betting board. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they walk the plank as they are at home going up against the Colorado Rockies, as Kyle Freeland is going to be taking the bump for the Rockies, and Mitch Keller is on the bump for Pittsburgh. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8, over is minus 115, the under is minus 105 on the 8.5, the under between minus 115 to minus 120, over is anywhere between even and minus 105 with the Buccos. They're between minus 155 and minus 165, between plus 135 and plus 145. The price on the Rockies, and I did set my run line to where I was willing to take pretty much a plus 110 or greater with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I'm going to be taking a look at them on the run line, and for Kyle Freeland, it hasn't been too bad for him on the road, but he has made 2 road starts thus far this season, and he has given up 3 home runs. I will say for Kyle Freeland, for his career, right around a point better on the road than at home. I just fear that he's not going to be able to get the run support that he needs to from the Colorado Rockies, because with the Rockies, they're averaging about 3.15 runs per game on the road since beginning part of the 2022 season, which that is dead last in the big leagues. You've had CJ Cron be able to supply 6 home runs, and 4 of them have been on the road, but the big thing for the team is that they're just not able to generate a lot of power in general. Hitting at 220 as a collective on the road, 12 home runs in 18 road games thus far this season. Good news is they have been able to get back in the fold. Randall Grichuk, he should be able to make a little bit of an impact for the team, but he has been very much off and on injured, so it does hurt this team just a tad. You've got Elias Diaz moving the line, hitting above a 300, but no doubt about it, this Colorado Rockies team just not the same team away from home. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, after such a good start to the season, it is starting to go down the toilet bowl a little bit for this bunch, as they have now lost 7 straight games, and for the Pittsburgh Pirates, 2 runs or fewer in 7 straight games. I do think that they are going to be able to restore some order, because prior to that, they had put up 6+ runs in 5 straight games. So clearly, this is a Pirates team that is very volatile. You've had guys who have been able to get on base, as Brian Reynolds, he's still hitting above a 300 for the team. Connor Joe makes things go, as he's a former Rocky. He's been able to hit a 275. Jason DeLay is hitting a 383, by the way, at the catcher spot. I don't think that is going to be long-lasting, but solid power with this team. Andrew McCutchen has been able to hit 6 home runs, but has been dealing with a little bit of an injury. Jack Swiniski has been able to give you 7 bombs, but with the Pittsburgh Pirates as well, been very encouraged by the bullpen. And for the Rockies, their bullpen isn't as bad as it has been in past years, as Colorado about 21st in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. You do have a Pirates team, though, that they currently rank number 8. David Bednar has been a really good reliever. Jose Hernandez has a sub-2 ERA. Robert Stevenson, Yohan Ramirez, these guys are doing the job. Meanwhile, Brent Suter comes over for the Rockies. He's got a sub-1.50 ERA. Daniel Bard is back in the fold after he began the season banged up. Brad Hand has been a nice addition for this team, so I do think that you're going to get a lot of solid pitching. The Pirates have been struggling with their offense. The Rockies, they just never hit on the road, so set my total at 7.8. I'm going to be taking a look at the under. And with the Pittsburgh Pirates, I do think that they are going to be able to get a little bit of something behind Mitch Keller, who's been much better this year. Strikeouts per 9 rate, right around 10.5. He's been able to lock it in, 3.32 ERA, has been able to add velocity onto his fastball. And he's now sub 3 walks per 9 innings for his career. Has been closer to 3.5 walks per 9 innings. So I do think that this is a good spot for the Pirates to be able to get right against the Rockies. I'm going to be willing to lay the run half. I think that they're going to be able to bust out of this streak of 2 runs or fewer. So looking at the run line of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'm going to be taking a look at this total under, so my total is 7.8. 903, 904 on the betting board. It is the St. Louis Cardinals on the road facing off against the Chicago Cubs. Miles Michaelis goes for the Cardinals, and you've got Marcus Stroman on the bump for the Cubs. And the Cubs, in between minus 145 to minus 155 favorites, between plus 130 and plus 135 is your number on St. Louis. Currently no total up on this game in a lot of books. I'm seeing 1 straight 8.5 at Caesars. The juice on the over is minus 120 and the under is even on that. And this is a total that I personally set at a 7.3. I'm going to be taking a look at the under in this spot, taking a look at the wind. Right now it looks like it is going to be blowing in Monday night because this is going to be a Monday night game in Wrigley Field, as it's going to be a little bit all over the place in terms of this wind. As I'm seeing it right now, it's blowing out towards the afternoon time, and then towards the evening time, it is going to be blowing a little bit more directionally. So I do think that you're going to have some very interesting conditions, and it looks like there's a possibility of some rain in this one as well. So that is going to make things very fascinating, but I'm going to be taking a look at the under in this spot, and with the Cubs, set the minus 152 on the money line. If you're looking at a run line, there's currently none on the board. I'm willing to take a run line as long as I am getting a plus 122 or greater. So I am in a little bit of wait and see mode because personally I would rather have a little bit more of a run line. And I do think that Miles Mikolas is going to be able to bust out of his funk a little bit more. It's been a rough year for him. 5.79 ERA. He doesn't give up a lot of walks. That was the case last year when he was an all-star. As far this year, below 2.5 walks per 9 innings, and his swing and miss stuff is actually up a little bit. He's been able to get up to right around 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 7 home runs given up in 37 and a third innings is right now what's ailing him. Good news is his last few starts have been a little bit better. Last 3 starts, 17 and a third innings, giving up 6 runs, still 3 home runs in that time span, but you know what? You're willing to accept that. Meanwhile, for Marcus Stroman, he had some very dramatic home and road splits last season to where he had an ERA north of 5 at home, 2.06 on the road. As far as this season, still have been rather dramatic. In 4 home starts, 2.74 home ERA, buck 47 road ERA in 3 road starts thus far this season, with all 3 of his home runs coming at home. But opponents overall are hitting about a 200 off of him. It is the Cubs bullpen that, because of the 14-inning game yesterday, these guys are going to be a little bit gassed. They had to use Mark Leiter Jr., Brad Boxberger, pretty much a lot of guys. But if there is someone that's able to give you a lot of length, it is Marcus Stroman. And both of these bullpens, they're not necessarily amazing. They're not necessarily terrible. The St. Louis Cardinals, 16th of the league in terms of bullpen ERA. When it comes to the Cubs, they're currently number 10. That bolstered by the fact that they pitched a lot of innings on Sunday, but for the Cubs, I do think that they are going to be able to do a nice job of being able to get to Miles Mikolas, as you just have so many guys in general that do a nice job of being able to move the line, as you've only got one player with north of 50 at-bats that is currently hitting below a 250, and that's one of your main masters, Patrick Wisdom, who has done an amazing job being able to pound out 11 home runs thus far this season. You've just got so many guys that move the line. It's Nico Horner, Cody Bellinger, Ian Happ, all hitting at least a 300. You've been able to have Dansby Swanson do a solid job. The young gun and Matt Mervis is now up at the big league level. I think that he's going to be able to do some good in that infield at the first base spot. Meanwhile, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they sent down Jordan Walker after he had his amazing start to the season, and it just feels like a team that can't get right. They were able to put up a bunch of runs yesterday against the Detroit Tigers, and now you've got Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado both having 7 home runs. Paul Goldschmidt north of a 400 base. You know what you're getting there, but Nolan Arenado, just 3 home runs, hitting at 232 this season. Alec Burleson is hitting at 220. They should probably have sent him down to the minor leagues instead of Jordan Walker. It's just me talking out loud, though. Lars Nootbaar, 430 on base. Really, the issue for the Cardinals has not really been their offense, though. It's been their pitching, as Ryan Helsley has not looked like himself since back half the 2022 campaign. Giovanni Gallegos, Genesis Cabrera, relatively solid. And I do think that this is going to be a spot where Marcus Stroman is going to be able to fling it really well. This is a total to where a 7 or less, I'm going to be taking a look at the over 7.5 higher to the under. Keep in mind, there might be rain in the forecast as well, but those are my initial leans there. 905, 906 on the betting board. It is the Milwaukee Brewers playing us to the LA Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin is going to be going for the Dodgers, and Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Brew Crew. 8.5 is the total. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 115. The over is between minus 105 to minus 110 with the Brewers. Saying between minus 108 to minus 115 on them, and between minus 105 to even money is your price on the LA Dodgers. I set the Brewers at a minus 121. I'm going to be willing to take them in this ordeal. With Tony Gonsolin, I was talking about it with Will Hill. He's never really been a guy to deliver a lot of length for the LA Dodgers, and he has made 2 starts thus far this season, has won a combined 8 innings. I don't see him really going north of 5 innings. His command has been off thus far this season, as he's allowed just 3 runs in those 8 innings, but 5 walks as well. That's something that ailed him towards the beginning part of his career. He doesn't necessarily look fully at 100%. Meanwhile, for Freddie Peralta, you know that you're going to get walks with him. A little bit north of 3 walks per 9 innings, and he has posted up a 3.63 ERA, but swing miss stuff it is back with him as he has been able to get right around 10.5 punch-outs per 9 innings. It's been good at home. In 4 home starts, 7 runs allowed in 23 and a third innings. Opponents starting a $188 off of him in Milwaukee. Now, he does have to face off against an LA Dodgers team that entered into yesterday, number 1 in the National League in terms of both home runs and total runs scored, with Max Muncy leading the league with 12 home runs. You've had James Outman do an amazing job with a 370 on base. He's hitting at 275, 7 home runs, and you've just got a lot of guys that they find a way to be able to get on base, as you've had Will Smith be able to provide a 400 on base, so he's getting jiggy with it. And then you've got Mookie Betts, who's still providing about a 360 on base, even though he's been a little bit down with his offensive production thus far this season. And even when you've got someone like a Jason Hayward, who's hitting just a 245, he provides like a 345 on base. His team is one of the best at being able to generate walks in the big leagues. And for the Brewers, it is a very touch-and-go offense in that you've got a lot of guys that they're sort of in that neighborhood of, I would call it about a 315 to a 335 in their on-base. Willie Adames, Rowdy Tellez, Brett Anderson is more around a 338, Christian Yelich, Bryce Terang, they're sort of in that fold, and Christian Yelich still hitting at 240. You need to get a little bit more out of him, though. I will say for Rowdy Tellez, he's done a nice job being able to give this team 9 home runs thus far this season, but it is a lineup that is sort of meh with the Milwaukee Brewers. Other than 2 just disastrous innings against the Red Sox and the Colorado Rockies, this has been one of the best bullpens in the big leagues. Overall, they're 12th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. I actually feel like they're a little bit better than that. Peter Strzelecki has been able to do a solid job thus far this season. Joel Payamps has been able to provide a sub-3 ERA. Devin Williams is one of the best closers in all of the big leagues. And going into Sunday Night Baseball, the LA Dodgers, 23rd in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They don't have Alex Vesia currently on the roster. Caleb Ferguson, Victor Gonzalez, these guys have been relatively solid, but Yancy Almonte has got a north of a 7 ERA. I just still have issues trying to trust in someone like a Shelby Miller. And they've got Wander Isuero. This guy sucks on the roster. So it is not necessarily too terrific. I do think that the Brewers are going to be able to take down an LA Dodgers team that has to come off of Sunday Night Baseball. Teams that played on Sunday Night Baseball during the 2022 season won straight up fewer than 40% of their games on Monday. So I'm willing to lay the small number here with the Milwaukee Brewers. I did set my total at 8.3. I think Peralta going to be able to hold down the Dodgers. Brewers have been having their issues on offense as well. So looking at the under of 8.5 and looking at their Brewers money line. 907, 908 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks play us the Miami Marlins. Braxton Garrett goes for the Fish, and Zach Gallen is on the bump for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a favorite of anywhere between minus 204 and minus 225, and between plus 185 and plus 190 your price on Miami. 8 is the total. The over is between minus 105 to a minus 115, and same goes for the under. And if you're looking at a Diamondbacks run line, that's anywhere between even money and a plus 105. I needed at least a plus 110 here, and anything above a plus 180, I was willing to fire it on the Miami Marlins. I love what Zach Gallen has been able to do thus far this season, and for the Marlins, they are coming off of that 14-inning game, but I think that just gives you a little bit more value here. I'm willing to trust in Braxton Garrett. With Braxton Garrett, early on during his career, had a really tough time with command, and he's been able to fortify things in the last few seasons, giving up just 5 walks in 26 and a third innings thus far this season, and where he's really been getting rocked is at home. For Braxton Garrett, he has pitched 13 innings at home and given up 14 runs. Meanwhile, in his 3 road starts, he's given up 3 runs. He's been very good on the road. At home, it's just been a hot mess. He's been very unlucky on balls in play. As you take a look at what Braxton Garrett was able to do during the 2022 season, he was a solid starter. Not like amazing or anything like that, but 3.58 ERA, giving up about a home run per 9 innings, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think they can provide that here. Meanwhile, for Zach Gallen, this guy's been absolutely dealing in his last 5 starts. A combined 3 runs surrendered in his last 5 starts. He's got a strikeout to walk rate of a 47 in his last 5 starts. A 47, that is not a mistype. That is not a misspeak, as he has been able to overall this season get right around 11.5 punch-outs per 9 innings, has allowed just 2 home runs in 42 and 2/3 innings. But as we saw in that series against the Washington Nationals, this Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen not necessarily too terrific. I do like Joe Mantiply. He's back in the fold after he began the season on the injured list. Andrew Chafin, Miguel Castro, these were nice additions during the offseason, but you saw these guys fail during that weekend series. Right now, the Diamondbacks are 25th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and entering into Sunday, the Miami Marlins, they were 24th in the league with that regard as well. But for the Miami Marlins, you do have a guy in AJ Puck that I like now. This is going to be a badly taxed Miami Marlins bullpen. The only good thing is that Sandy Alcantara was able to give them 8+ innings. So you do have a few guys like an Uskar Brazob and Andrew Nardi that threw fewer than 12 pitches yesterday. Puck, who I just mentioned, he threw 10 pitches. So you aren't going to be as badly taxed as a normal team coming off of a 14-inning game. And for the Miami Marlins, currently they are dead last in the National League in terms of runs per game, as you got guys that are able to get on base. Luis Arias is still hitting above a 400 for this team. Garrett Cooper, Yoli Gurriel, John Birdie, only between about a 268 to 275. Just haven't been able to get a lot of power in general, as you have had 5 home runs thus far this season from Jazz Chisholm, 7 from Jorge Soler, but both of these guys a sub 300 on base, and it's really that bottom of the fold with guys like Avicio Garcia, Gene Segura, Jacob Stalling, Xavier Edwards hitting below a 200 for the squad. Meanwhile, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, at home they entered into the weekend with the best home batting average in the National League, hitting right around about at 285 at home. I believe that has climbed to 290. Now, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression with this, as right now you've got Geraldo Perdomo hitting north of a 350. I just can't see that lasting the entirety of the season. Gabriel Moreno, Corbin Carroll, Pavin Smith are all hitting at least a 320 at home thus far this season, and while they've been able to do a nice job of moving the line, they've only got 14 home runs in 16 home games thus far this season, so they're not necessarily supplying a lot of boom. And we noticed that with the Arizona Diamondbacks last season. They were a bottom 3 team in the National League in terms of home runs per game at home, so they're getting on base. They're not necessarily driving them in. I do think that things are going to be a little bit more tame. I think that Zach Gallen delivers an amazing start, but hard to trust in this Diamondbacks bullpen and lay this big of a number with them. I'm willing to take plus 180 or greater with the Miami Marlins. Some might tell at 7.2, so taking the under to go along with that plus price on the fish. 909, 910 on the betting board. It is the San Francisco Giants playing against the Washington Nationals. For the Nets, it's Jake Irvin on the bump for them, and Anthony DeSclafani is going to be on the bump for San Francisco. And the Giants are between -$2 and -210 favorites. Meanwhile, you're getting between plus 175 and plus 185 on the Washington Nationals. 8.5 is the total. Under between -115 and -120. Over is between -105 to -110. Do need at least a plus 203 to take a shot on the Washington Nationals. If you're looking at the run line of the San Francisco Giants, find that between even money, and I'm seeing a straight plus 102, but was willing to lay up to a -105. So I'm going to be willing to go with the San Francisco Giants on the run line. Now, the roll of the dice that you've got with the Giants is that they've got the worst bullpen ERA in the National League at a 5.89, but DeSclafani has really been your best starter thus far this season for the San Francisco Giants. 2.13 ERA. He's been able to get only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has been rock solid, giving up really 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts. He's given up 4 home runs in 38 innings thus far this season. This ballpark very well suited to him, so I do think that he's going to be able to regain that form they had in 2021. Just a little bit of a lost season last year with all the injuries. And for Jake Irvin, first start of the season, he only gave up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings, but he had 4 walks in 4 1/3 innings. He really had to wiggle out of some sticky situations. He is not backed up by the world's greatest bullpen that is now 23rd in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Do have a few guys like Hunter Harvey, Carl Edwards Jr., Mason Thompson that have been able to provide a sub-3 ERA, but for this gentleman and Mr. Irvin, last season at the AA and high A level, he was able to post up a 3.83 ERA, 9.5 strikeouts to 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but he made 5 starts at the AAA level this year. He wasn't very good. He gave up 4.5 walks per 9 innings, 8 punch-outs per 9. He really hasn't experienced success above the AA level. So that has you concerned with the Washington Nationals. They are at the bottom of the National League in terms of runs per game. They are dead last in the National League in terms of total home runs, as you've got one guy with north of 3 home runs. That'd be Jameer Candelario with 4. You do have guys that are able to get on base for you, though. Stone Garrett has been able to about a 295, along with Victor Robles, who also provides a 390 on base. You've had Michael Chavis, Joey Meneses, Luis Garcia, Lane Thomas, all at least a 260 for this bunch, but they just don't really drive them in. Meanwhile, for the San Francisco Giants, this entire bullpen has been a complete hot mess. Tyler Rogers has been relatively okay, and then you've been able to get some good innings out of Camilo Duvall past that. All these guys are pretty much dead weight, but for the San Francisco Giants, they do an amazing job with their platoon splits, being able to get a whole bunch of home runs. As of right now, you've got 4 different guys that have provided at least 6 home runs, and you've got 6 different guys with at least 5 home runs. So you're probably going to end up with a situation where with the Giants, you don't have a single guy that exceeds 30 home runs, but like 8 guys that get to 20 home runs. I can very easily see that. You do need to have a few guys be able to pick it up in terms of just being able to get on base. As David VR, Brandon Crawford, Michael Conforto, these are all guys they're hitting a $175 or worse. So you do have guys like J.D. Davis hitting at 285. He's supplied 7 home runs. Wilmer Flores hitting about a 275. 6 home runs out of him. Thairo Estrada hitting a 345 to go along with his 6 bombs. So these guys have been relatively solid, but with the Giants, they provide a little bit north of 2 home runs per game on the road. At home, that's more like 1.2 home runs per game at home. So I do think that scoring is going to be down a little bit more in this one, especially with the Washington Nationals unable to put bat to ball. So this is a circumstance where I'm going to be taking a look at the under. Actually, with the Nationals, they do a good job of putting bat to ball as they've got the lowest strikeout rate in the big leagues. They do a bad job of putting bat to ball and actually making really good contact with it. So I think the ball stays in the yard. Going to be taking a look at the under in this spot, and we'll take them at even money on the run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the Cleveland Guardians playing host to the Detroit Tigers. Joey Wentz is going to be going for the Tigers, and you've got Tanner Bibby on the bump for the Cleveland Guardians. And the Guardians are between minus 185 to minus 195 favorites, and between plus 162 and plus 172 is your number on Detroit. 8.5 is the total, seeing some 8s out there as well. On the 8, over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. On the 8.5, under is between minus 115 to a minus 120. The over is between even to minus 105. Was willing to take anything north of a plus 162 on the Detroit Tigers. We're seeing as high as a plus 170. I'm going to be willing to lock and load there, as you've got a Cleveland Guardians team that is currently dead last in the American League in terms of total home runs. And while they were able to overcome being second worst in the big leagues in terms of home runs last season, they just aren't getting on base the way that they did a season ago. They're hitting 223 as a collective. So many guys like Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Will Brandon, Oscar Gonzalez, they're all hitting at least a 270 last year. All those guys I reeled off are hitting below a 225 this year. Steven Kwan is hitting a 275, and Jose Ramirez right around 365 on base. That's about it for this team. They don't have a single guy with north of 3 home runs. 18 home runs in 34 games thus far this season. That just is not cutting it. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Tigers, they got completely lambasted in their series against the St. Louis Cardinals, as they gave up 12 runs in that final game. They still were able to pull out 2 out of 3 games, and for the Detroit Tigers, very stunningly, they have scored at least 5 runs in all but one of their games in the month of May thus far. I do not think that this is going to be very long-lasting, as they are hitting at 229 as a collective. We have seen Riley Green be able to pick it up. Javi Baez both hitting between about 255 to 265, and Eric Haas all of a sudden is hitting at 276. You still have a lot of dead bats on this team, though. Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, Nick Bainton, Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, Jason Rogers, all at 223 or lower, and most of these are your home run hitters, as Nick Bainton, Jason Rogers, Kerry Carpenter all have 4 home runs, and that's right now the team lead. And for the Detroit Tigers, this is a bullpen that has been very hot and cold all season long. Jason Foley has been really good for them, as he's been able to supply an ERA that is below 2. You've been able to get some good innings out of Jose C. Serrano as well, but you don't have the guys like Gregory Soto, Andrew Chafin, Michael Fulmer that you did a season ago, and as a result, you've got a Tigers team that is currently 20th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Meanwhile, Nick Samlin, James Karinchak, they have been very hot and cold with regards to the Cleveland Guardians bullpen, but still, number 5 in the big leagues with that regard is Daniel De Los Santos, along with Emmanuel Clase, Trevor Seaman. These are all guys doing a relatively solid job in the bullpen. And I do think that Tanner Bibby is going to be able to land a relatively solid start. First 2 starts at the big league level. Combined 3 runs surrendered in 11 innings. So those 2 starts, game against the Colorado Rockies at home and the New York Yankees on the road. So a very nice welcome there. And for Joey Wentz, it has not been a good season for him thus far. The walks per 9 rate is right around 3. He doesn't get a lot of swings and miss, and he just has given up a lot of hard contact in general, giving up 6 home runs in 28 1/3 innings. Good news is he gets to play against the Cleveland Guardians, and I do think that is going to be able to keep this team very lively. Wentz was never necessarily amazing at the minor league level. He was never really too bad, though, either. And I do think that for Tanner Bibby, there's going to be a little bit of regression with him. I did set my total at 7.7. I think both offenses are going to have a rough time with it, so looking at the under, and we'll take the plus 165 or greater with the Detroit Tigers. 9-13, 9-14 on the betting board. The Baltimore Orioles play host to the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan is going to be on the bump for the Rays, and Kyle Gibson is on the bump for Baltimore. And Baltimore, anywhere between plus 135 to plus 153 underdogs, anywhere between minus 160 to minus 170 your price. On Tampa Bay, 7.5 to 8 as the total. On the 8, under is minus 120, the over is even. On 7.5, over is minus 120, and the under is even. Did set my total at an 8.3. Going to be taking a look at the over. I do think that we are getting to the point where Kyle Gibson is going to be experiencing a little bit of regression now that he faces the Tampa Bay Rays offense that literally leads the league in everything. Yes, For the Tampa Bay Rays, they're hitting as a collective at 277 with 69. Count them, 69 home runs in 35 games. They're on pace for about 320 home runs thus far this season. It is absolutely ridiculous as all these young guns have been able to pick it up for them, as you right now have Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, both providing 9 home runs, both hitting above a 325. And then you've gotten between 5 and 6 home runs out of Taylor Walls, along Josh Lowe, Wander Franco, and all these guys are hitting at least at 275. This team does a good job of being able to move the line. With the Tampa Bay Rays, they rank in the top 3 with regards to bullpen ERA, as well as you've got so many guys behind Shane McClanahan. They're able to sling it, as Zach Birdie has yet to give up a run all season long. You've been able to have good innings out of guys like Ryan Thompson, Jason Boucher, Jason Adam, all these guys providing a sub-250 ERA. And then for Shane McClanahan, 2.03 ERA, with posting up an ERA for his career that's about 0.25 points lower on the road than it is at home. He's given up 4 home runs over the course of 40 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate, that is hovering right in the neighborhood about 10.5 to 11. And for Kyle Gibson, he hasn't been bad thus far this season. A 4.61 ERA. He's given up 5 home runs in 41 innings. His walks per 9 rate is in control, right around 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but I think that he has been very fortunate on balls in play. His strikeouts per 9 rate is hovering right in the neighborhood about 6. He has been very good in his 2 home starts, 12 and 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. I do think that is going to be going very much northward, as opponents are hitting about a 284 off of him, and with facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays lineup, that's not too terrific. And for Baltimore, I do think that they're going to be able to scratch across a few runs of their own. Ryan Mountcastle has been able to give you 8 home runs this far this season. You do have quite a few guys that are able to move the line, get on base, as you got Austin the Saves Kid, Ryan McKenna, Ode Mateo, all hitting at least a 290 with Mateo 6 home runs. It's 12 stolen bases. When the top marks in the big league, Cedric Mullins is able to give you 11 stolen bases as well. Then you've got Anthony Santander, who began the year dealing with a little bit of a back issue. He has really been able to pick it up over the last 15 days, hitting at 320 with 4 home runs, so you do like to see that. I do think that the Orioles going to provide a little bit of offense, but I think that Shane McClanahan just going to be too good in this spot. I did set the Rays at a minus 166 on the money line. If you are taking a look at that run line, you're going to be finding it in between even money and plus 105. I was willing to lay up to a minus 105, so looking at the Rays laying a run and a half and taking a look at the 7.5 to 8 over 915, 916 on the betting board. It is the Oakland A's and the road face off against the New York Yankees. Nestor Cortez is on the bump for the Yankees, and we're going to Sears. JP Sears goes for Oakland. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Yankees are between minus 195 and minus 225 favorites. Between plus 175 and plus 185. Your number on Oakland. I set the money line at a minus 258. If you're looking at the run line of the Yankees, you're getting even money to a plus 105. Yes, please, sign me up for that. The New York Yankees were finally able to erupt with their offense on Sunday. Bullpen did let them down, but even with the struggles in the Yankees bullpen on Sunday, they're number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And guess where the Oakland A's are in terms of bullpen ERA? You guess it, dead flippin' last. 6.70 bullpen ERA for the Oakland A's. They had to DFA half their bullpen last week after their calamity against the Seattle Mariners, where those of you guys that took that over on, I believe it was Wednesday, the 5 spot in the 10th inning was very magical for some, very not so magical for others. And Nestor Cortez, I think, is going to go out there and just absolutely dominate for the New York Yankees. As you take a look at his home numbers over the last 2 seasons, posting up right around a 2 ERA with just over a half home run allowed per 9 innings. I will say this about the Oakland A's. They have been able to do an okay job of hitting on the road. At home, they're hitting below a 225. On the road, they're hitting about a 254, and you've got a trio of guys in Jesus Aguilar, Shea Langolaris, along with Brent Rooker. These 3 guys, they've got a combined 15 home runs in 16 road games thus far this season, so that's something encouraging for you. Rooker sitting a 491 in terms of on base away from home. Ryan Noda has a 471 on base on the road as well, so you actually do have guys that are moving the line a little bit, but for JP Sears, it has been the bit of misery for him on the road. A 7.63 road ERA, giving up 13 runs in 15 in the 3rd innings with 4 bombs surrendered when he has been on the road thus far this season. He actually used to pitch for the New York Yankees, so there is going to be some familiarity as well now with the New York Yankees, with the injuries to Aaron Judge along Giancarlo Stanton. It's just absolutely miserable, as you have not been able to get a lot of guys at the bottom of the fold getting on base. We talked about this with Will Hill, but worth bringing up Anthony Volpe, Oswaldo Cabrera, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the much maligned Aaron Hicks, Franchi Cordero, Josh Donaldson. All these guys are currently hitting at 212 or lower. DJ LeMahieu providing about a 350 on base. You've had Anthony Rizzo be rock solid, hitting at 283. He's been able to give you 6 home runs. And Harrison Bader coming back is big for the team as well. But I think the Yankees are going to be able to get it done in the bullpen with having so many guys like Jimmy Cordero, Albert Abreu, Wandy Peralta, Ron Metanacchio, all doing their part, everyone except for Jimmy Cordero, a sub-3 ERA. Meanwhile, for the Oakland A's, you're relying upon Spencer Patton at this point, Rico Garcia, to be able to lend good innings. I just don't see that being the case. Sam Ball, since the beginning part of last season, has had a sub-330 ERA, but now you've got Austin Pruitt, who needs to give you some innings. Shintaro Fujinami has been one of the worst Japanese signings that I've really ever seen, so circumstance where even with this bad New York Yankees offense, I think that they're going to be able to get online against a guy that they've got familiarity with in JP Sears and a bullpen that is one of the worst in the history of baseball. So a circumstance where I set my total at an 8.7. I'm going to be willing to go over in the spot. I think that this is where the Yankees bust out. I set them at a minus 135 on the run line. So getting between even money and a plus price, I'm going to be willing to lay that Yankees run line and take a look at this total over. 917, 918 is going to be the DK Nation write-up pick as you've got the Chicago White Sox on the road against the Kansas City Royals. Zach Greinke goes for the Royals, and Dylan Cease is on the bump for the White Sox. 8.5 to 9 is your total on the 8.5. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 9. Under is minus 120. The over is even with the White Sox. They're between minus 130 to minus 140 favorites. Between plus 115 and plus 122 is your number on Kansas City. For the White Sox, I was willing to lay up to a minus 134 with them. I'm seeing a minus 130 currently at circa. Sign me up for that, but the write-up here is on the under. Whether you got 8.5 or 9, and mostly seeing 9 out there, that's what I anticipate getting on the write-up. I am willing to take a look at the under either way. Dylan Cease has been incredible on the road since beginning part of the 2022 season. 2.25 ERA. He's been able to do a good job of being able to limit the hard contact in general, as on the road the last 2 seasons he's been giving up less than 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Now, he has given up at least 3 runs in each out of his last 5 starts, but 2 of those games, he gave up fewer than 3 earned runs because he was victimized by a bunch of unearned runs in that time span as well. The biggest thing is he needs to limit the walks because with Cease's walks per 9 rate, it is currently about 5 this year, and he's backed up by one of the worst bullpens in the big leagues. But you're able to say that about both of these bullpens, as the Kansas City Royals currently rocking a 5.30 bullpen ERA, the White Sox a 6.15. These are 2 of the bottom 4 marks you're going to find in the big leagues, as Scott Barlow has been a disaster for the Kansas City Royals bullpen. Roland Chapman has actually been okay for this team, and ever since he has come back, Josh Shamon, he's been relatively solid, but now you've got Josh Shaler with north of a 6 ERA, so these guys have been bad, and I mean, everyone aside from Gregory Santos and Keenan Middleton deserves slander for the Chicago White Sox bullpen. Alex Colomé is awful. Aaron Bummer lives up to his name. He's a bummer. Jimmy Lambert stinks. Ronaldo Lopez, 8 ERA. So, I mean, it's not great. And for the Chicago White Sox, I mean, yay verily to the fact that they got 17 runs in the first 5 innings of their game against the Kansas City Royals with an 11 spot in the second inning. They entered into that game averaging 3.6 runs per contest on the road. That was the second worst mark in the American League. They do get Tim Anderson back to the fold, which is big, but I mean, this team, in terms of on-base percentage on the road, they're a bottom 5 mark in the big leagues, and I just don't see that really being able to improve against a guy in Zach Greinke that I'm going to get into in a second. He has been absolutely remarkable at home. You do have a pair of guys, Jake Berger along with Luis Robert. They've been able to combine for 14 home runs. With Robert, he's now hitting at 260, so you're starting to get a little bit more there. But guys like Oscar Colas, Berger, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, Elvis Andrus, Sevi Saval, they're all hitting at 225 or lower. Meanwhile, for the Kansas City Royals, this team has been a disaster with their offense as well. They're currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. They haven't really been able to generate a lot at home now. Salvador Perez all of a sudden has been able to catch fire. 7 home runs, sitting at 290. Take a look at the last 15 days, a 444 on base with 4 bombs. So that has been terrific for this team. And then you do have a pair of guys in Vinny Pasquantino along with Bobby Witt Jr. with 6 home runs. Witt Jr. hitting at 235, Pasquantino a 275. But you still have Nicky Lopez, Kyle Isbell, MJ Melendez, Hunter Dozier, Jackie Bradley Jr., Franmil Reyes, and Nate Eaton all hitting a 209 or lower. And in the case of Eaton, he's got 1 hit and 29 at-bats thus far this season. So, I mean, that is not great to say the least. I do think that for Zach Greinke, though, he's going to continue his home dominance. He's allowed 2 home runs at 88 and a third innings at home over the last 2 seasons. At home, he's got a sub-250 ERA. He has been absolutely amazing on that front. Anytime he hits the road, he has been terrible. So he's given up at least 4 runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but 3 of those starts came on the road, and guess what he did in his last home start? 5 scoreless innings. So I do think that this is a good spot for the Kansas City Royals to get a nice start out of Zach Greinke. For the White Sox, I do think that they're going to cool off after scoring 17 runs yesterday. I do think that both of these pitchers, they're in their really happy place in terms of Cease being on the road, Greinke being at home. So DK Nation right-up pick, that is going to be on the under. And with the White Sox, we'll lay up to a -133 with them, 919, 920 on the betting board. It is the LA Angels. They play out the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown is going to be going for the Astros, and Patrick Sandoval is on the bump for the Angels. Angels are a slight underdog of anywhere between +105 to -104, and between -107 to -120 is your number on Houston. 8.5 is the total. The over and the under anywhere between -105 to a -115, and I did set my total at 8.3. I'm going to be taking a look at the under for the LA Angels. They entered into Saturday night against the Texas Rangers, second best in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. That is worth a big hearty chuckle right there, because that just shows sometimes how much ERA lies to you. And the Angels are still 9th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. This is not the 9th best bullpen ERA. I mean, you've got so many schlubs out there. I like Matt Moore. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA since being part of last season, but guys like Chris Davinsky, Jaime Badia, Ryan Tepera, these guys are not very good. Andrew Wantz, he's been able to give you a sub-1 ERA, but I don't think that that's going to be lasting. But what I do like here is Patrick Sandoval. Patrick Sandoval has been rock solid in terms of not giving up home runs since the beginning part of last season, right around 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. Has been able to come into his own with 2 earned runs or fewer, surrendered in 4 out of his last 5 starts now. Walks are a little bit of an issue with him. He has given up a combined 12 walks over the course of his last 4 starts. That knocks him out of starts a little bit early, about 4.5 walks per 9 innings as far this season, but all in all has been solid, even though he hasn't had great swing and miss stuff. Meanwhile, for Hunter Brown, he sometimes knocks himself out of starts early as well. He's giving up nearly 3.7 walks per 9 innings, but has yet to allow a home run in 34 2/3 innings. Opponents are at 213 off of him, and in 3 road starts, he has been magnificent. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, and it's not like he's going up against the dregs of the dregs. His road starts have been against the Tampa Bay Rays, Atlanta Braves, and the Minnesota Twins, so he has been battle-tested, and he has lived up to the billing. So I do like what he's able to show there, and for the Houston Astros, this bunch was number 1 in the league in terms of bullpen ERA last season. They're currently number 6. These guys actually do back it up a little bit, as you've had so many guys that have been able to supply a sub-3 ERA thus far this season, as you've had that thus far with Phil Maton, Brian Abreu, Hector Neris, and then you've got Ryan Presley, the closer, right around a 3.38 ERA. It's been a little bit of a tough season for Seth Martinez along with Ryan Stanek, but I do think that they're going to be able to pick it up a little bit. And for the Houston Astros, been a little bit touch and go in terms of the offense. Yordan Alvarez was expecting a little bit more from him. He still has been able to supply the team with 7 home runs at 385 on base, but I think the expectation is a little bit higher there. Mauricio Dubon has been able to do 285. You can tell that they're missing Jose Altuve, coupled with Michael Brantley, but you do have Christian Jolks along with Chas McCormick when he is out there hitting about a 275, as McCormick continues to be banged up, but you've got Kyle Tucker providing that 375 on base. Meanwhile, for the LA Angels, you've had Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani just continue to deliver for the team, but now they've got a little bit of help in the form of Hunter Renfroe. Renfroe has been able to slug out 8 home runs. He's hitting about a 255. You've been able to have Gio Urshela hit a 300 as well. Brandon Drury, over the last 15 days, has been able to slug out 5 home runs, but the injury to Logan O'Hoppe at the catcher spot has been earning the team a little bit. Luis Renifo is only hitting a 211 as well. All in all, it's a relatively solid LA Angels lineup, but I do think that Hunter Brown going to be able to go out there and shut him down, and when it comes to this LA Angels ballpark, plays vastly different during the nighttime than the daytime. So I did set my total at an 8.3, so you're at an 8.5, going to be taking a look at the under. When it comes to the LA Angels, I did set them as a -117 favorite. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression for Hunter Brown. Love the way that Patrick Sandoval has been able to sling it, and with the Astros dealing with injuries in the lineup, I do think that the Angels can be able to score just a little bit more than the Houston Astros. So I'm going to be willing to back Patrick Sandoval on the money line to go along with this total under. I wrap things up with 921, 922 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners play the Slow Walker Texas Rangers. 55 Shades of John Gray goes for the Rangers, and Logan Gilbert is on the bump for Seattle. Mariners are between -149 to -160 favorites, anywhere between +130 and +140 is your number on Texas. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Under is -120. The overs even on the 7.5. Over is -115. Under is -105. With the Rangers, I set them at a +121 on the money line, being able to get north of a +130. Sign me up for that. Now, with the Texas Rangers, we are starting to see a little bit of regression in terms of their bullpen, as now they're clocking in right around 16th in terms of bullpen ERA, but Jose Leclerc, coupled with Brock Burke, throw in there Jonathan Hernandez as well. All these guys supplied a sub-3 bullpen ERA last season, and even though they did give up 8 runs yesterday, they were able to utilize more of their less than trustworthy bullpen pieces. Will Smith can still get jiggy with it today, and for the Seattle Mariners, this team just has not been able to get on base. They're hitting at 222 as a collective. That is a bottom 3 mark in the big leagues. They still do have guys that are able to supply some pop as Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, Jarrell Kelenic, all between 6 and 7 home runs. But for Rodriguez and Teoscar Hernandez, both of these guys hitting at 226 or less. Jarrell Kelenic has really been the guy that has been able to move the line as he's been able to hit at 300. He's been able to get some relatively good production out of Jose Cabrera, as well as he's been able to about at 273. But right now you've got 3 guys on the roster that have seen meaningful at-bats are hitting above a 240. And Eugenio Suarez is able to move the line a little bit, but he's only getting 3 home runs thus far this season. J.P. Crawford, 378 on base. But then you get to Taylor Trammell, Tommy La Stella, Colton Wong, Sam Haggerty, A.J. Pollock, all these guys hitting at 220 or lower. Meanwhile, for the Texas Rangers, they're coming off of putting up a 16 spot, which I don't think that they're going to be doing once again here. But even with Corey Seager out of the fold, you've got a lot of guys that are able to move the line. Jonah Heim, Ezekiel Duran, Travis Janikowski, Leody Taveras are all hitting at least at 300. Marcus Semien, 5 home runs, 375 on base. Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, both of these guys have combined 17 home runs, both guys hitting right around 260, so this is a very formidable lineup for the Seattle Mariners. This team has been amazing with their bullpen once again this year. They are number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA, despite the fact that they've been dealing with an injury to Andres Munoz. They now have Diego Castillo on the full, which honestly, that's a good thing for them, as you've got a pair of guys from last year that were relatively reliable in Penn Murphy, coupled with Paul Sewald, that'll be able to do a nice job. Murphy seems to be dealing with a little bit of an injury, but they have unearned gems in Taylor Saucedo, Justin Topa, Gabe Spear, all these guys supplying a sub-3 ERA, so I like the way that they've been able to mix and match there, and I do think that for the Texas Rangers, we're going to see a little bit of regression from what we saw yesterday in terms of their offense, especially facing off against someone in Logan Gilbert, who does have a 4 ERA thus far this season, but has been able to get 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's allowed 4 home runs in 33 and a third innings, just 7 walks in that time span. I do think that there's going to be some positive progression in terms of his pitching. Meanwhile, for John Gray, 4.40 ERA, has been a little bit unlucky on balls in play as well. 6 home runs given up in 30 and 2/3 innings. His strikeout numbers, though, are way down from last year. Last year, north of 10 punch-outs per 9 innings. This year, more around 6. I do think that he is going to be able to start to find it a little bit more after giving up 3+ runs in each out of his last 3 starts, and I do think that going up against the Seattle Mariners is going to be able to help out with that. So I might tell at some point I have access to is 8, so I'm going to be taking a look at the 8 under, and I'm going to be taking a look at the plus price with the Texas Rangers, and that will wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to Will Hill over here at VSiN for joining me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @GNet_81. Keep in mind, letter CM, maybe it does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire on whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season. That means I'm coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.